What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the shop. And today on the bench, we've got ourselves a Stihl backpack blower. It happens to be a BR600 Magnum. This is kind of like the predecessor to the BR420 Magnum, I believe. Don't know exactly what the Magnum stands for, but if I had to guess, it'd be so that when you're running it, you can tell people that you're packing a Magnum. No? Nobody laughing? Oh, okay. Well, I guess in that case, I shouldn't be very long-winded about this video, But I tell you, I promise you guys that the repair is gonna blow you away. Okay, that was the last one. I couldn't help myself, guys. Sorry. Anyways, the blower doesn't seem to be doing its job. It's hard to start, low on power. So we're gonna check a couple of things, and we're gonna, get it running the way it should. And I always like to start by making sure that there's nothing that I haven't missed, right? So I like to make sure that I can start it and go from there. So the start procedure on this is actually quite important. So, sorry. I got a little bit of a cold, so my voice is going to be a little bit off. Yeah, that's locked, that's on. Okay, sorry, the middle section is on. Then you lock the throttle with the choke, which is kind of cool. I like how they incorporated that, because the older models, you had to do it manually. So yeah, this is the newer one, more ergonomic as well. You got your primer, and we have some gas, because I just seen some squirt out there. It is colored, but it doesn't look very good. It looks a little bit milky. I'm going to be draining it no matter what. But let's just see if we can get it started. Okay, and then, oh. And we've got some missing hardware. I'm sure I've got some hardware around for that. Anyways, let's see if I give it a couple of pulls here, what it'll do. So it does run. So it does run, but it does smoke a lot. These don't normally smoke that much. So one thing's for sure, recoil's got some missing hardware, so we're gonna have to deal with that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably just take off the whole cover, because then that might help me get access to a few extra things, give it a good cleaning, and of course on this side we got your air filter. So let's remove the cover. And you've got some hidden ones down next to the support. Two more back here. And you will have to remove the rewind. And then just like this, it should come off fairly easily. Beautiful. Okay, so be aware that there's some little dowels, and one of them's obviously missing, but that goes into the plastics, into the cover, I should say. So that's good. Take a look at the spark plug, just for fun, because that can tell us a lot of what's going on and how it's been running. Now, during the training course that I did with Stihl back in the day, at least with the older BR420s, they didn't want to run Bosch. Actually, the teacher's acronym was, or I guess his saying was, Bosch bad for blowers. So it's an NGK in here, which is a good thing. It is quite rusty along the threads, but it's in good shape. Like, the plug's a little bit dirty. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to zoom in on that, but a little dirty, but nothing to be too concerned about. Now, how about the air filter? Well, the air filter actually looks quite clean. Looks like it was done recently. So that's a good thing. Again, I'm very happy to see that. Now, something else that I like to do is I like to, like I said earlier, I'm going to be draining this gas. So I'm going to use just my little peanut jar, because I like to see, I should probably find myself a glass jar, but I like to see what the fuel looks like, and if there's any phase separation in it, that means I'm on a good track as to that my decision for draining the fuel was a good one. So this is going to be a little bit awkward, but let's see if I can hold this and not make a mess. A little bit of a spill. It almost looks pink. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know. It almost looks pink to me. Most mixes that I've seen are either blue or red. This looks pink. But anyways, that's interesting. So something else I like to do on these engines when I do a tune-up is I like to check the valves, because these engines are just like the 4-mix engines that you have on the FS trimmers, like the FS90 and up. Not all of them, of course, but the FS90, the 100, the 110. So underneath this cover, there's only one screw to that. Oh, there's the other one. Underneath this cover, you'll see the valve cover, and then we'll show you how that gets done. And right up here is your cute little valve cover. So underneath this valve cover is, of course, your valve rockers, and you got your push rods and all that stuff along the backside. So I'm going to open this up so you can see. Then we'll put that aside also. And there you have it. You've got your intake and you've got your exhaust. And I'm not sure which stroke we're on right now, but I can already tell you the exhaust has got, well, you can hear it, got quite a bit of play. We're somewhat on the intake, I think. So down here on your flywheel, or on your magnet, I should say, so you've got a bit of an arrow over here, and then you want to line that up straight up. So what I do is I look at the intake valve. Nice. Go through the cycles. So intake. Now it's closing. So now we are on compression, and I will line up that mark. I went past it, sorry. I'll line up that mark right up here. It's going to want to spring back, but anywhere in this sweep is usually pretty good. Then I will measure the valve clearance. Of course, they sell the proper feeler gauges from Stihl, and they're 1 millimeter. You double it up on, so it's 2 millimeters on the exhaust. That was a service, I'm going to call it a service bulletin or something like that, that years ago occurred. Because they noticed that in some instances the exhaust valves were burning up on some models, so they just doubled up the valve spacing, because the only time a valve ever gets time to cool off is when it's closed on the head to transfer the heat. So knowing that, if you double up the clearance, you almost double up the time that it sits. So I'm going to go get myself a feeler gauge, and we're going to cut it to make it fit in between these two little notches in there. Alright, I got some feeler gauges here, and I'm going to be sacrificing one. And as I'm saying this, I just realized it's not 1 millimeter. That's a lot. It's actually 0.1 millimeter, which ends up being about 4 thou. So what I'm going to do to sacrifice this one, I'm actually just going to cut it lengthwise, about about the width of what it is to get in here, and then from there we should be pretty good. And I'm just using a pair of scissors because it's like, it's like paper, really. Maybe just some construction paper, I guess. I don't do too many arts and crafts, though. Okay, so there's my new feeler gauge. I'm going to put this aside just for the Stihl. So I went a little bit wide, but that's okay because I tapered it off at this end. I just need to get rid of this burr. And we're going to go in there. And yeah, we are way out to lunch on that. And theoretically, what I can do is taper off this end as well. And then I'm going to fold it in half to measure the exhaust. Yeah, I'll have to taper it just a bit. There you go, that fits. And it's an 8mm nut, so we're going to get a wrench, and we're just going to slowly turn this in so that that valve clearance is, well, it's set to whatever my feeler gauge is. Okay, and that's pretty well it. Double check that one more time. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Feels pretty good here. Sorry guys. Really not cool having a cold. Anyways, now we put the valve cover back on. We're going to clean off that spark plug. Put that back in place, then the cover can go back on. But before we put the big cover, I also want to take a look at the spark arrestor, because sometimes that can be a bit of an issue as well. And my table doesn't seem to be big enough for this. And I'm kind of doing things so that you can see it. I wouldn't be working backwards. I'd actually be facing this, but I want you guys to be able to see it. So I hope that that is appreciated, which I know it is. So I'm going to get myself, now hopefully, and I've done this before where these poor old screws have been in there forever and they strip or they snap. So I'm hoping that's not going to happen. This looks like a Torx, so let's go get one of those. Well, let's see if we can get this loosened up. Oh, it cracked. Not bad. Might have got lucky there. I do have to say, I find sometimes I get lucky. How about this one? Oh, I think I got lucky there. But still does make a pretty good product. I have to, not a fan. I mean, sorry, I am a big fanboy, not sponsored, I should say. So what I am going to do, I'm going to put some C's of the Never on these screws so that that doesn't happen again. Now we're going to peel off the cover here. So I'm just prying it away a little bit to give myself, because it slides in, I want to give myself a little bit of ease to it. And there is your screen. And the screen is actually in very good condition. It's not all carboned up, it's not plugged, so that's good news. But we're going to give it a quick cleaning anyways. Just using a little brush here. Just get that extra carbon off of that screen, let it flow. Now some people will just throw this out, and I know a lot of people that do that. I don't recommend it because it's there for a reason. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen one of these run hot where chunks of carbon flow from either build up in the muffler or on top of the valves or whatever, and they'll actually flame. During the day you can see it. So that's the reason why they're there. You don't want any of that stuff to fly out and then cause a fire, right? So now we're going to put this back in, slide that back, and get some Never C's. So a little goes a long way. I say that a lot, but you don't have to overdo it with this stuff. At least I don't think so. Alright, how's our fuel looking over here? I probably should have put it behind me where I don't have, because I'm shaking the table and just keep stirring this thing up. Hasn't shown any phase separation. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, there is I'm going to get closer here, guys, but there's quite a bit of water in this. Maybe like this. But if I tilt her back, there's the water. That's a significant amount of water. So hopefully you guys can see all that in the screen. So I'm definitely not going to be using this. I'm going to put some good known gas with a good mix. Stihl recommends 50 to 1. And they also recommend minimum 89 octane. Not sure if you guys knew that, but now you do. So at this point, I'm going to go give this thing a little bit of a clean, and then we will reassemble, give it a shot. She's all back together. Now it's time for a little bit of fresh fuel from a good known source. So let's go ahead and put some in here. It should be about what came out of the container. And I'm going to make sure that that filter stays in the middle of the tank. There you go. Tighten up the cap real good, because these tanks are pressurized. I'm sure you guys know about that already, but it helps raise the fuel up to the carburetor with that little bit of pressure. Kind of like a fuel pump, I suppose, but using science. All right, let's go outside, fire this thing up, and see how it runs. Here we are outside, we're all suited up. I always like to wear hearing protection because these things are pretty loud. They're right behind you as well. So put these on. I can't hear you guys, but I'm sure you can still hear me. So we're just going to go through the starting procedure again. So like I said, up is for the locking of the throttle, middle is the on, and then this is off. So let's go in the middle. Choke fully on, couple of primes. So what I like to do, and what I like to tell people when it comes to priming, sometimes it can take 7, 8, maybe 10 primes before fuel comes up into the ball. So I don't count those. I only count 3 primes after the fuel's into the bowl or into the ball. So that's what I've done here, and hopefully this should fire right up. Oh, pretty close. Turn the choke off. Leave the throttle high. There it is. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. Probably getting some old gas out of the carburetor. We're going to run it for a little bit. I gotta say, these are pretty comfortable. The idle's a little bit low, so we're going to have to do a little bit of adjustment there. Let's try that again. Alright, so let's try this. I just adjusted the... actually, I'm going to lose these if I leave them out. I adjusted the idle. I also adjusted the high and low jets. So hopefully I got those right, because they were out to lunch. Now, that should start right up. It doesn't take much. That's it. Maybe on the high side it sounds better. Well, that's it, guys. I'm going to call that a win. I'm going to have to run it a little bit longer to make sure that all of that water, if there's any in the lines or in the bottom of the little orifices in the carburetor, makes its way out. But yeah, it runs great. It starts right away. I mean, if I was to try it now, I'm sure it'll fire right up. Oh, got good compression. So I'm going to end up fine-tuning the idle speed once it's all ready to go, and I'm confident that all that water's out. But yeah, I'm going to call that a win, and it's also going to be in the end of the episode. I'm starting to lose my voice anyways, so I appreciate you guys hanging on to the end. You guys are awesome. Today's tip of the day obviously has to be, don't trust the gasoline in the tank. Just drain it. I don't know why we are so cheap with our gas, probably because it's so expensive, but I like to just take it out, burn that mixed gas in my next season stuff, right? So it's not a big deal if there's a little bit of oil in there. Even if it's a 4-stroke engine, it doesn't make a big difference. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video.